It's often said that astronauts leave Earth as engineers and return as humanitarians. They look back at our planet, small, blue, fragile, and something inside them changes. It's called the Overview Effect. A cognitive shift, a sense of unity, a feeling that borders are imaginary and that Earth is one interconnected system. But here's the paradox. We've sent hundreds of humans into space. We've seen Earth from orbit for more than 60 years. We have thousands of images showing just how small and vulnerable our planet really is. So why are we still at war? Why are forests disappearing? Why are freshwater systems collapsing? Species going extinct and carbon emissions still rising? If the overview effect is so powerful, why hasn't it changed us? Is the overview effect overstated? In this episode, I speak with Christer Fuglesang, the first Swedish astronaut in space. Like many astronauts, he described the view with awe, but also with something heavier. A sense that once you've seen Earth that way, you can't unsee it. My name is Fredrik Sträng, I'm your host. This series blends adventure, science and philosophy, and the questions that lives between them. If you like this kind of content, please subscribe, like and share. It really helps. The term overview effect was coined by space philosopher Frank White. He's described it as a cognitive shift in awareness reported by astronauts, often accompanied by intense feeling of awe, interconnectedness, and responsibility for the planet. Astronauts don't just see Earth from space, they experience it differently. I met Christer Fuglesang at his office to find out.
My name is Christer Fuglesang, and now I'm working as professor at KTH, Royal Institute of Technology. But for many years I was working for the European Space Agency as an astronaut.
So how does it look like to see the curvature of Earth from space?
You get beautiful views when you see in particular the sunrise and the sunsets, which you get 16 of each day, so you don't have to wait a long time. And there you get a small thin colored band above the Earth before the black universe starts. And it looks very fragile indeed. And you know, that's about 100 kilometers. And only the 5%, 5 kilometers closest to Earth, that's where we can live. And most animals can live without a spaceship or spacesuit and no oxygen. You definitely get the feeling we have to take care of this. This is kind of something very, very important for us.
On Christmas Eve 1968, during the Apollo 8 mission, Earth rose over the lunar horizon. The moment wasn't planned. Astronaut William Anders instinctively grabbed his camera. On the mission audio, you can hear the surprise in his voice.
Oh my God, look at that picture over there. There's the Earth coming up. Wow, is that pretty. You got a color film, Jim?
A moment later, something shifts. His tone changes.
Hand me a roll of color quick.
Oh man, that's great. Where is it?
Quick.
Hey, I got it right here.
Let me get up to
Bill, I got it framed. It's very clear right here. Oh, I got it right. Oh, that's a beautiful shot.
That photograph, Earthrise, has been called the most influential environmental photograph ever taken. Not because it was beautiful, but because it reframed everything. So how does it feel to go up to space?
Amazing feeling. First of all, finally, I was on my way to space. I'd been an astronaut for 14 and a half years by then. So now, finally on my way to space. But it was also physically and psychologically shaky. I mean, it was. I flew with a space shuttle, which the hard propellant boosters makes it quite shaky. That's for 2 minutes, then became a bit softer. Last minute, 3G acceleration, then you really press down in your seat. But in all, only 8.5 minutes, and then what we call the main engine cut off, and you are in weightlessness and you're in space. Quite a ride.
When I look at photographs of Earth from space, I feel two things at the same time: awe and apprehension. A deep reverence for the miracle of creation, this thin living membrane suspended in a vast desolate universe, but also fear, because everything that keeps us alive exists inside a razor thin life support system. That's why I always keep images of Earth from space as my screensavers, not for motivation, for orientation. They remind me what the Apollo 8 astronauts felt. They remind me what's at stake. When I get stressed, when I get caught up in meaningless problems, when ambition turns into noise, I look at Earth from space and it recenters me like a pinball bouncing back towards the middle of the machine. It brings me back to gratitude, to humility, to perspective.
Yeah, you see, the Earth is round. Um, I was at 360 kilometers altitude during my first flight, and Moon is 1,000 times further away. There you really see the small little blue dot. But you certainly see that the Earth is round, and it takes only 90 minutes to orbit it, so you feel it's not big.
Many astronauts describe the overview effect not as optimism, but as responsibility. Apollo astronaut Edgar Mitchell said, "You develop an instant global consciousness, a people orientation, an intense dissatisfaction with the state of the world." The problem is not that we don't have the technological capability to solve our problems. The problem is that we don't see ourselves as a planetary species. That distinction matters. The overview effect doesn't tell you what to do, it shows you where you are. This is where it gets uncomfortable. Since Earthrise, deforestation has accelerated, freshwater systems are under extreme stress, species extinction rates are tens to hundreds of times above natural levels. Conflicts and polarization are increasing, not decreasing. So we have to ask, if the overview effect reveals the truth, why hasn't it transformed our behavior?
It's an amazing feeling, and it's so beautiful to see the Earth down there. You don't really feel the velocity that go very fast, but you don't see waters. You don't see these things that people fight about down there. And we were 13 astronauts from 5 different countries on my second time at the International Space Station. We were together. We didn't fight for things. So that is definitely a kind of feeling you get.
So is the solution to bring everyone to space before we can see lasting change in the world?
I think it's a bit exaggerating, as sometimes it says that if we could just get all the politicians to space, there would be no war down there. Unfortunately, probably not true. But the more people get to see this, the better it is.
Here's the hard truth. The overview effect works individually, but civilization doesn't run on individual insight. It runs on incentives, power structures, fear, short-term thinking. Most of us will never go to space, and images, no matter how powerful, lose impact with repetition. What once shocked us slowly becomes wallpaper. Did the overview effect change, Christer?
No, I can't say it's changed me as a human being. I mean, of course, you're a result product of everything which has happened to you, and plus your genes. So certainly, probably has changed something, but it's not that I kind of come back and I say, oh, now I look upon things completely different than before. But these things that Earth is not so big after all, it looks a bit fragile, particularly the atmosphere, and we should take care of it together. That becomes much more kind of powerful from being in space.
So maybe the overview effect isn't overstated. Maybe it's misunderstood. It was never meant to save us, it was meant to warn us. Astronaut Chris Hadfield said, "The Earth looks so small and fragile when you're in space. You realize that everything you care is on that tiny ball." That realization doesn't end conflict, it makes conflict feel tragic. The overview effect is real, but it's not a solution. It's an invitation to grow up as species, to stop acting like we live on separate worlds, to recognize that survival now depends on stewardship. The tragedy isn't that we haven't seen Earth clearly, the tragedy is that we have, and we still hesitate to act.
My space flights were quite short, actually, 2 weeks each of them, and they were very busy, kind of the working. But when there was some time left over, where I could look through the window in the evening before falling asleep.
But once you're in space, you also must enjoy something called life. So, what was the personal thing Christer took with him on the flight?
Yeah, I brought the frisbee with me. I competed a lot in frisbee when I was young, and one way to compete is to throw the frisbee in the air, and then you have to catch it before it hits ground. So I think, well, if I do that in space, I can let it spin for a very long time. So I let it spin for well over the established world record. But they didn't want to acknowledge it as a world record, unfortunately.
In the next episode, we continue this conversation. If astronauts experience the overview effect, then maybe mountaineers come down changed from a mountain. So my question is, does the world change from the top of a mountain? If this resonated with you, please like, subscribe, and share. It helps us keep asking the question that prevents us from sleepwalking into the future. See you soon.